Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenos días, aquí tienen el horario para hoy, miércoles, el 2 de noviembre. So for today, you guys didn't have any assignments due. You guys turned in your ofrenda for Dia de los Muertos last class, and then due for next class are guided workbook pages 45 and 46. And our daily objectives for today: to review how to discuss your extracurricular involvement, and then our new notes are making comparisons of both equality and inequality. Your warm-up question for today: ¿En qué participas después de las clases? For your warm-up for today, you guys are going to indicate an extracurricular activity or hobby or interest that you participate in, referring to the vocab outlined on pages 42 and 46 through 47 of the textbook. So, for example, yo participo en el club de matemáticas después de las clases. Or yo practico en el equipo de golf después de las clases. So, using the verb participar or practicar or any of the other verbs outlined there on page 42, indicate what your extracurricular involvement is or your hobbies or interests, answering the question, ¿en qué participas después de las clases? What do you participate in after school or after classes? All right, and then next we're going to head to page 53 to go over new notes on making comparisons of equality and also of inequality. To compare things that are similar or equal to one another, we use two different equations. The first one uses an adjective in the middle with tan and como on either side. For example, levantar pesas es tan popular como correr. And then for the other comparison of equality, we use tanto followed by a noun to say that something has as much or as many as someone or something else. Now remember that tanto is going to change, and it's going to agree according to gender and number, the gender and number of the noun that comes after. So if the noun is masculine or feminine, singular or plural, that will dictate whether the form will be tanto, tanta, tantos, or tantas. Masculine singular, feminine singular, masculine plural, feminine plural. All right, you're going to do exercises 11 and 12 as practice, and then we'll take a look at your homework for next class. Ejercicio 10, completa las siguientes frases con la palabra apropiada. Now remember, tan is always going to be used with adjectives. Tanto always going to be used with nouns, and tanto is going to change its form according to the gender and number of that noun. So for number 1, la canción de Mercedes es tan buena como la de Enrique. Buena being the descriptive adjective there. And then number 2, Elena no es tan deportista como Angelica. Deportista, also an adjective, means sporty or athletic. Exercise 11, I think we're probably only going to do the first 3. Completa las siguientes frases y usa la forma apropiada de tanto. So you're doing 2 things. The first thing is conjugating the verb tener correctly. And tener is reviewed on page 15 of the textbook. There you have the conjugations of tener in the present tense. And then after you conjugate tener, determine what form of tanto should be used, as all of these examples are using a noun to make the comparison, and the noun, whether it's masculine or feminine, singular or plural, is what's going to dictate the correct form of tanto to use. So for number 1, yo tengo, right? That would be the yo form of tener. Yo tengo or yo no tengo tantos amigos como Luz. Or yo tengo tantas amigas como Luz. It's in parentheses, so you can choose either the masculine plural or feminine plural form of amigos. That's a little bit of practice. You do the same thing for numbers 2 and 3. Take a look at those nouns, determine whether they're masculine, feminine, singular, or plural, and then put the correct form of tanto in front, in addition to the correct form of tener, which again is on page 15. Lastly, let's take a look at your homework. Guided workbook pages 45 and 46. You have the notes there from page 53. The workbook pages are right there, and then a video in addition to this video that you can watch for instructions on how to go about this assignment. Pretty straightforward for part A. All you're needing to do is fill in the blank with either the expression tan, como, or es. And the order of these elements is going to be the verb ser, in this case es, followed by tan, adjective, como. Ser, tan, adjective, como is the order to make comparisons of equality. So number 1, la banda es tan popular como la orquesta. Jugar a los bolos no es tan popular como el ajedrez. For part B, same thing. You're using the same formula, ser, tan, adjective, como. And the adjective for these is provided in parentheses. And you're making the full comparison using all the elements above here. Numbers 2 and 4, though, are going to be plural. So instead of es, you're going to use the plural form of ser. And you can look that up, the conjugations of ser, on page 5 of the textbook. So, for example, number 1, creo que el ajedrez es tan interesante como jugar a los bolos. Yo creo que las dos actividades son tan aburridas como la fotografía. For parts C and D, pretty straightforward, using the correct form of tanto in front of the noun that is underlined there, whether that noun is masculine, feminine, singular, or plural. Some of these end in es, like reuniones, and therefore a little bit more tricky to determine the gender of those nouns, because normally nouns end in either O or A. So you're going to want to look up those nouns in the dictionary or in the glossary of the textbook, which is on page 68, and then that'll tell you the gender of those nouns. All right, and so that's the rest of the homework. C and D, pretty straightforward. Just fill in the blank with the correct form of tanto. And that is your homework for next class, muchachos. Guided workbook pages 45 and 46, reviewing how to make comparisons of equality.